And I did a video on this. It's how to correctly size a glove, because a lot of people think every year you get older, you go up in size, regardless if you're an infielder or an outfielder. It's always baseball first, and then it's like, oh, softball here. We're going to just like give you some equipment, and it's like not much thought into it. Whereas now it's like there's so many companies who are really, really focused on making the softball equipment legit, as it should be, you know.
Going back to helping moms and dads though. So if a mom or dad is looking to buy their daughter a new glove, what's important to look for? All right, welcome everyone to another episode of Beyond the Glove. I am your host, Ben Loafman. So baseball is not the only sport that recognizes the importance of the glove. And overall on this podcast, I don't think that I've provided enough insight into the game of fast-pitch softball and its relationship to ball gloves. And to remedy that a little bit today, we're having Megan Rembielak as a guest. Megan, most commonly known as MegRem, is one of the top resources available when it comes to fast-pitch instruction of all kinds. Her YouTube channel is approaching 600 videos of softball instruction, and she has well over 100,000 followers. In addition, she also travels the country running clinics for young ladies looking to learn from her. Megan's content relies on her knowledge acquired from her experience as a top-level softball player, and also by providing honest instruction that both older and younger ladies can use to improve their game. As I've been prepping for this episode, I've listened to some of the content from Megan, and although she was an exceptional hitter as a collegiate player, it seems like she's always thought of herself as a glove-first infielder, which excited me as we were prepping for the podcast. So Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And I'm honored that you said I was a good hitter, because I don't know about that.
I checked the stats at the Appalachian State archives, and I saw that there were some good batting averages in there. So
yeah, well, thank you. I know I usually get recognized for my gloves, so that makes me feel good.
There you go. No, it was I only played at a small NAIA baseball school, and your batting averages were much better than mine. So but no, I was impressed. So, but I thought as for starting, we just go right back to the beginning. I was kind of fascinated, kind of learning about your background. So your dad was a long time college baseball coach. Is that correct?
Yeah. So he coached for he was Division I head coach for about 25 years. So
Okay.
Pretty much my entire, like from zero to, I think he ended up retiring from college baseball at, I was maybe 20. No, I was like late 20s. So okay. My whole life.
Nice. That's awesome. And what schools did he coach at?
So he started at Kent State in Ohio.
Okay.
He was there for, I want to say 17 years.
Okay.
Went to Wake Forest for 4 years, and then ended at Akron for 4 years, and they got rid of the program. And then after that, he's like, okay, we're moving on. Just didn't have much luck there. I mean, he was, and I say didn't have much luck. He was a fantastic coach, over 600 wins. But yeah, he tried high school after and wasn't a big fan of that. So
nice. One thing that your dad, so he was at Akron, which I believe their mascot is the Zips. Is that correct?
Yep,
that's correct. One of my favorite NCAA mascots of all time. So I was pretty excited when I saw that he coached there. So
yes.
Nice. So were you just growing up at a ball field as a kid?
All the time. We went to almost all of his home games. Definitely on the weekends. And then, sometimes during the week, once we started to get a little bit older, so like, 8, 9, 10, obviously we had sports too, but we were whether we were at the field watching him, or I grew up in Ohio. So I was always watching the Cleveland Indians on TV. So it was always on.
Nice. That's awesome. And then judging by your career path that you're on right now, it sounds like you enjoyed this childhood where you were spending all your time at the field.
I did. Yeah. It's funny because a lot of people say, oh, well, because you grew up at the field, you fell in love with it, which, yes, that's the case. But we always joke, because I have an older sister who zero interest. She was a cheerleader, like zero interest. So I'm like, she was at the field just the same amount as we were. And then I have a younger brother who actually he actually played for my dad at Akron, and he now coaches. He's associate head coach at Bowling Green in Ohio. So me and him fell in love with the game. And then my sister's like, I'm going to go the cheer route.
That's funny. And then I have to ask about your mom as well. So is your mom into baseball and softball, or at this point was she like get me away from this sport?
So when she started, so she was a track athlete and
Okay.
she went to Miami of Ohio. So she was Division I track,
Hmm.
fast. That's where I feel like I got my speed
There
from.
you go.
But when she started dating my dad, she didn't know a thing about baseball. And when my dad got drafted,
Okay.
she thought like, we're going to be so rich and all this stuff. And she sees what it's like. And back then minor leagues was like, you're making nothing and,
Uh-huh.
you're always gone. And she's like, this is not ideal. Now she loves it. She's huge, huge sports fan. She's always been into sports,
Uh-huh.
but no, she's huge baseball fan now.
I'm interested to know. So your dad tried high school baseball. He's not doing that anymore. Is he just retired, just grandpa now, or?
Yeah, so he tried high school, I want to say for 3 to 4 years, and
Hmm.
he's very old school, and that just doesn't work with today's kids. Like
Hmm.
he's tough, and he's changed a lot from when he coached in college. It didn't work out. So now he only has actually 1 year left in the Ohio school systems.
Okay.
So he's like a facilities manager at a high school, just trying to get that last year.
Nice.
But yeah, he tried it and wasn't a huge fan.
Gotcha. Okay. So growing up, so dad's coaching baseball, and with your upbringing, I'm interested to know. I feel like I hear this every now and then. Did you ever play baseball, or did you start as a fast pitch softball player?
Yeah, so it like wasn't an option where I
Okay.
grew up. I did T-ball, which was co-ed,
Yeah.
whatever, boys on the team, and then I moved right to Little League, which was
Okay.
all softball. So yeah, we didn't have the option of baseball.
Nice. And then so you got the fast pitch softball, and then I assume so you get to high school, and for you, did you know right away? Were you like, I'm going for college softball? Was that early on? That was a done deal?
Um, yes and no. I loved softball.
Hmm.
However, I played 3 sports all through high school:
Okay.
volleyball, basketball, softball. I loved volleyball. Like
Okay.
I never took, and lessons even in softball were not a thing when I was growing up, but I
Hmm.
never did anything extra. Volleyball is just something I really love. So there was like probably my sophomore year in high school, I was like, I don't know, maybe I'd be interested in volleyball in college. And I like talked to a couple really, really small schools. And then in
Hmm.
the end, I was like, okay, softball's it. And I always kind of knew in the back of my head, like softball is probably going to be what I'm going to be doing in college. But I don't know. I played so many sports. I never was like softball, softball, softball.
Hmm.
Not until probably like my junior year in high school.
Okay. And since I didn't prep you for this, but since we're on the subject, I'm always thinking about this. So here in Kansas City, for example, we have like Patrick Mahomes. He's the quarterback, and so everyone's always like, man, they're like, you got to play every sport. And I've been thinking about this because I have a few young kids now. It's like, I feel like a lot of people get tripped up. They're like, you need to be a multi-sport athlete and you need to play everything at the absolute highest level. Do you like, I'm always like, I don't know if that's the right way to go about that. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that with
I wouldn't say you have to play at the highest level, whatever sport you do. I just feel kids aren't able to get the opportunity to play other sports. Like, for
Mhm.
example, I live in Florida. I grew up in Ohio. So softball was not a year-round thing.
Mhm.
We had like these domes that we would play a couple tournaments like in the winter, and it was just more of like to get some
That sounds
reps.
kind of terrible, but
Yeah, and I can like still smell it. And it was
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Like whatever. It's like it was like a half of a field, but it
Uh-huh.
got the job done. But we just like didn't really have the opportunity to go year round. Whereas my husband grew up in
Mhm.
Miami. And
Okay.
that's year round. And we have the conversation because I don't think you should be playing year round.
Uh-huh.
He's like, but the best athletes are the ones who play year round. And I'm like, I get it,
Yeah.
but I also just feel like young kids, I just don't think you should be. Now, when you get to be in high school and you're like, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to play baseball or softball in college.
Mhm.
If you want to specialize, you do whatever you want. I played 3 sports in high school and I absolutely loved it. I
Yeah.
can't imagine only having be able to play one. But I don't know. I don't think you have to play multiple sports, but young kids should get the opportunity to if they
Yeah.
want to.
Mhm. I'm interested. So you said your husband, he's from Florida, and I feel like I've heard, does he do some baseball stuff as well for his career?
Yeah, so he works for the Marlins. He's in player development.
Oh,
So he
really?
knows what he's talking about. But I'm just very
Okay.
we always had the argument. I'm like, you shouldn't play year round. He's like, well, the best athletes are the ones who are playing year round. I'm like, whatever.
That's crazy. So what is, and I'm just, you don't have to expound too much,
It's
but
okay.
what part of player development does he do is he like on the bench or like in the clubhouse, or what is that role?
So he's actually been with them for 10 years. So he's had a bunch of different roles within player development. This
Okay.
year, he's still front office, but he's more hands-on with the infielder. So he's
Okay.
he's basically oversees the entire minor league operations, but also infield coordinator for minor leagues.
Okay. Nice. This is cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I am bringing this up later. So just like with him being an infield guy and you being with Valle, like, does he know
Yeah.
Kai Correa a little bit too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's
nice.
actually, he's met him. He met him, I think, at the ABC. It was somewhere.
Okay.
But he was like big fan of Kai.
Nice. For those of you who are listening, that might not make sense. It'll make sense later. So, nice. That's awesome. Awesome. So kind of going back a little bit. So high school, you determine that you're going to be you're going to play in college. It works out. You do get a scholarship to play in college. Where'd you play your college softball at?
Appalachian State in Boone,
Nice.
North Carolina.
Okay, nice. What years were like approximately?
Yep, 2000. So I graduated high school 2008. So my first year, 2009 to 2012.
Nice. So when I hear Appalachian State, I immediately go to football, and that was kind of a high time for Appalachian State football, wasn't it?
Yeah. So 2007, the year before I got there, they beat Michigan. And
Oh,
it's
yes. On the block, like the 2 block field goals
Yes.
or whatever. Okay, nice.
And it's funny, it's still their claim to fame, which obviously, I mean, app football's been awesome for a very long time, but it's still our like claim to fame, even though I want to say in like we played them like maybe 5 years ago, maybe more than that, and got destroyed, but no one talks about that. We talk about, well, we beat him in 2007.
That's hilarious. That's cool. And then, but as far as like being a collegiate softball player overall, was it a good experience for you?
It was. I still have all my best friends. I played with them in college. I built such great relationships. I actually had 2 different coaches while I was there. The one who recruited me was there till my sophomore year, and then I got a new one junior year, which I won't get into it. But the second one, it really, really tested me in my love for softball. And I know a lot of people go through that. So my junior year was tough, like to the point where I almost quit. Senior year, I was able to get over it, and that was my best year by far. So I struggled a lot of adversity, but and I've said this, a couple times before, like I'm really proud of myself for how I was able to kind of forget the mental part, because it's very easy to get sucked into getting mentally messed up, where I was proud of myself to like kind of just like let it out of my head. And senior year was my best year by far.
That does sound, going back to switching coaches, that just sounds like a raw, especially the person that recruited you when you get in there, because it's like, are they going to come and blow it up? Or are they going to commit to whoever's here and make the best of it? So that is always, I always feel hard. That sounds like a tough position to be in. So
it's like not everyone has that experience. It's just, and when I played, if you transferred, you got to sit out a year. So it just like wasn't an option. And now, like, nowadays you can go wherever you want, whenever.
That's right.
But yeah, it's like anything in life, challenges. And it was more than just softball, which that's what made it so terrible. But overall, it was a lot of hard work, but I knew that's what it was going to be going into it. And it was like some of the best 4 years of my life. And mainly too, like, obviously loved softball, did it well, but just the relationships I built, teammates. And I think a lot of players, and you could probably agree, like, I don't know, it's just like 90%, like 75% of college athletics or athletics in general are your teammates. It can make or break.
Do you mentor, like if your girls are asking you for advice, do you usually tell them to like look school first and then let softball like go after that? Because if you're miserable, or like, even if the softball is good, if you're personally miserable, like it's not going to be a fun time. So
no, it is. And you don't really I didn't understand that when I was being recruited. Cause you're like, softball's life. I want to just go play softball. But going through what I went through, I was very close to quitting, to where I was like, okay, I don't have softball. Now I just have to be at App and just like enjoy the school and my major. And I would have. So thankfully I went to a school that I had great sports. I loved the environment. But it is really important to make sure you're going to a school that is great for you out just other than just softball.
Yeah. Nice. And then as far as like on field, was there like a team accomplishment or personal accomplishment that you were especially proud of?
Personally, which we go back to hitting. So I was never a power hitter. And it's funny, my dad and my brother joke. My brother and I joke, like we got our hitting from our dad, which he wasn't a bad, we're just like average. And my brother and I were average, but we take pride in our defense. Like me, my dad and my brother, like I like to think I have a really good glove, good feet. So my best accomplishment in college was I hit a home run my junior year. I think it was my junior year. And you would have thought I won like the World Series, Game 7 walk-off. And we were up, by a couple runs already. But my teammates were like way happier than it was just like, I don't know, it was one of those that I'll always remember that because I think my teammates lifted me up and the other team was probably like, okay, get back to the dugout. But funny. It just like wasn't expected from me.
I'm sure you bat flipped after you did it and everything.
Yeah, what I did is I hit it and I sprinted because I'm like, I don't hit home runs. And they're like, home runs, slow it down a little. I made it to home in like 4 seconds.
That's funny.
But yeah, team wise, we because my last 2 years, we didn't have good, just nothing really meshed. So my last 2 years weren't great. We didn't really have, which I know sounds not the best. We just didn't really have like a good team accomplishment other than we just loved each other.
Yeah. No, that's all. Yeah. The whole time I was in college, we were never very good either, but I had a great time. So it was,
we were like, the thing is that's what's, and this goes with any team. It's like, we were like my first 2 years, we were good, but it just something like, it didn't click.
No, I get it. And I've always wondered this. So you're a former ball player and pretty accomplished as well. When you were playing college softball, high school softball, did you give a lot of thought into like the gear that you were using? Like aside from it being the correct size or anything like that?
No. And the reason, one, we didn't have the internet. I mean, well, I don't even know when the internet came about. Whatever. We did not have what it is like now. But I tell girls now it's funny because I'm with Just Bats and all the bats that are coming out are amazing and great. And, people are always asking for my opinion. And I'm like, what's funny is that when I was playing, even in college, it was like, here's a bat. And you're like, okay, you literally didn't think anything about it. Even growing up, my parents would have never, my dad got bats through his school. So we never had to buy them, but they would have never paid $400 for a bat. So I look at these kids, I'm like, thank your parent. I'm like, these bats are expensive, but no, even gloves. It was like here, and you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I always like my experience as a kid was it was like whether it looked cool, and then like if the good kid on the team was, I was like, well, if the good kid's using it, it must be a good bat. But honestly, that kid probably could have been swinging a pipe, and
right. And
well,
from what I remember, like I don't remember having the only thing cool equipment wise was like this bat was like the Rocket Tech, and there was like one of
the Anderson Rocket Tech. Nice.
Yeah,
there you go.
And it was like that was like probably the only piece of equipment that I thought was maybe cool. Like I just I don't know. Again, we just like didn't have a ton of options, or at least I didn't know about them.
That's awesome. The Rocket Tech is a deep cut. That's all aluminum bat, which is pretty rare for fast pitch softball because composite's kind of the top material to use for fast pitch softball, but that's an aluminum bat. That's awesome that you swing the Rocket Tech. It's funny
because I was at my clinic a couple weeks ago in Ohio, and I always just ask the girls when I'm doing hitting, I'm like, hey, can I borrow someone's bat to demo? And this girl brings out her Rocket Tech from like 2004, and I was like,
nice.
Where did you get that? She was like, eBay. And I, was swinging it. I was like going back to because I never got to have one because, respect. But I respect my parents for that. But I was like swinging it. I was like, so this is what it felt like.
That's awesome. They always had a red, white, and blue colorway, which I feel like still plays for just about everybody. If you can have a USA colorway to it, everyone's going to use it. But no, with like gloves. So you were a middle infielder. Yeah. And so like by the time you're in college at App State, what size glove were you using for middle infield?
I was 11 and a half.
Okay.
And that's what I've always kind of been from, I would say, gosh, maybe like I say 12. We didn't even have travel until I was in high school. But
Mhm.
like 12, maybe like high school and up, I was always 11 and a half. I tried, my husband actually got me a Wilson, like an A2000, maybe a couple years ago, and it was 11 and 3/4.
Okay.
And man, I'm like, that just feels like a boat to me. It
Really?
feels heavy, long. I'm like, I gave it to someone else, and he's like, seriously? I'm like, I'm not, I just wasn't a fan of that size.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
so that's interesting. So, although I've worked here at Just Gloves for a while, none of my sisters growing up played fast pitch softball. So I'm relatively ignorant when it comes to fast pitch glove sizing. My usual thing is like a bigger ball, like, it's a bigger ball, so
Yeah.
you can use a big glove like right here and you'll be just fine because it won't be hard to find the ball within the glove. I feel like that's pretty rudimentary though. So like what is the pulse when it comes to fast pitch and like selecting at least the right size of glove?
Yeah, and what I've learned, because I actually had baseball gloves growing up, because
Okay.
again, my dad would get equipment. He's
Yeah.
like, here, and I'm like, okay, great. It's just obviously, not obviously, it's just the pocket size is,
Mhm.
softball's a little bit deeper.
Okay.
But I always say, infielders between 11 and a half to 11 and 3/4. Like
Okay.
I'm a big proponent, nothing bigger than 11 and 3/4 in the infield, which
Mhm.
I know is very similar to baseball,
Yeah.
which is probably, I don't know, probably 11 and a half in baseball.
Yeah, it's like it's funny. People are actually starting to go a little bit bigger sometimes. So there'll be like some third baseman that'll use 12 and a quarter inch. That's pretty rare and
Oh,
that's pretty
wow.
big. So, but for the most part, yes, people are looking 11 and a half
Yeah.
inch to 11 and 3/4 inch on the infield as well. So,
Yeah. So I always say no bigger than 11 and 3/4. And then outfield sweet spot is about 11, or I'm sorry, 12 and a half. And I
mhm.
say if you are both infield and outfield and your parents don't want to spend $400 on the two gloves,
Yeah.
I would say go 12. If you're like equally both, if you
Yeah.
can have an infield glove and a separate outfield glove, I
Yeah.
think that's ideal. I always tell the younger kids, and I'm talking like maybe 8U, 10U, like let's not go above 12 and a half, because obviously the bigger, I need to stop saying obviously, because I know it's not obvious, but the bigger glove you have is just harder to control.
Mhm. Yeah, especially for the young kids, like, I've always thought, my immediate when people worry about the length of glove, you're like, "Tough it up." But I think it does, like, make a difference after a while that it's like, it for especially for a young kid, if it's too heavy, like, that's gonna start to, like, weigh on them
Yeah.
as they keep going
Well,
on.
and something that I'm learning while doing my online and being in person, and I did a video on this, it's how to correctly size a glove, because a lot of people think every year you get older, you go up in size, regardless if you're an infielder or an outfielder. And
Mhm.
that's like you could be a 35-year-old female like myself.
Mhm.
I don't need a 14-inch glove. Like I'm always going to have 11 and a half or smaller,
Mhm.
because as an infielder, less less web, it's easier to find the ball. More
Mhm.
web, the ball gets lost.
Yeah. So that's definitely a rudimentary thought, like, just because the ball is bigger, that doesn't mean it's gonna be super easy to to pull it out of there. So,
Right. No,
uh
yeah, no, definitely not.
that's funny. Nice. And then that's interesting that you mentioned that you used a baseball. Did you like once you got to high school? Did you switch over to like a fast pitch specific, or was it still baseball at that
Um,
time?
I want to say no. I want to say maybe in college. This is where it's crazy. Like
Uh-huh.
I don't, not that I don't remember. I don't even know, because it really was like here's a glove. But
Yeah.
I will say I like joke with my she's my best friend. She was my catcher. I went through a period where on throwdowns the ball kept popping out of my glove, and I
Uh-huh.
and I think back now, literally 15 years later, I'm like, is it because I had a baseball glove and the pocket was smaller? And I'm like, maybe that was my problem. She's like, do you seriously still think about that? I'm like, yes. But I
That's
honestly, I can't remember if I had baseball for a very long time, and it was always like 11 and a half.
okay.
I tell kids now, I don't think it makes a huge difference if you're a softball player using a baseball glove. Yes, the pocket might be a little bit bigger in softball,
Mhm.
but does it make that huge of a difference? I don't think so.
I do think now baseball, the emphasis is deeper pockets is kind of the emphasis now. So I would wonder, I always have a really hard time when I have like a fast pitch glove and a baseball glove, I'm sure there's a difference in the pattern, but even like I have one,
Right.
man, like obviously the hand stall is different, but it's like, man, they feel I don't know. So, but
And to me, it's not enough of a difference to be like, oh, you better go
yeah,
get that softball glove. Now, the way that equipment is, if you're a softball player, go get a softball glove
yeah,
because I'm sure there's
they're
great
very,
benefits.
they're very, no, and they're very readily available now. So I started
Right.
working here 10 years ago. And it's interesting that you mentioned there was a lady who worked here with us who played at the University of Kansas. She played fast pitch softball. And she said that when she was in college, she was an outfielder, but she's like, I always use a baseball glove.
Yeah.
Because I think at that time, that was probably 15 years ago, she said that the baseball gloves were so much better than the fast pitch gloves. And for
Yeah.
outfield, it's just kind of like, I don't know, bigger glove. Like she was just looking for a big glove, and a baseball glove met what she needed. But she's like, yeah, I used a baseball glove the whole time.
And
So
it's crazy how times have just changed so much to where, and it's still some companies are, it's always baseball first, and then it's like, oh, softball here. We're gonna
mhm,
just like give you some equipment, and it's like not much thought into it. Whereas now it's like there's so many companies who are really, really focused on making the softball equipment legit as it should be.
mhm,
I mean, softball is growing so big every single year.
mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, I know like all-star. I know catchers aren't really your specialty, but they have like the Page Halstead,
Yeah.
which they put a ton of research into. I know Wilson, they're coming out with new fast pitch A2000s literally every quarter of the year. So it is
Oh
cool to
wow.
see that there's yeah, there is emphasis. It's definitely not
Yeah.
second thought like it used to be.
Right.
So going back to helping moms and dads though. So if a mom or dad is looking to buy their daughter a new glove, what's important to look for? What would you say is something they should definitely be thinking about while they're shopping?
I would say if you're older, let's go 12U and older.
Mhm,
I think it's okay to start investing in a nice glove. Meaning, I know gloves are expensive, so let's say like I don't know, $300 or
mhm,
between 300 400. More expensive glove will mean better quality. And it's one of those, if you take care of it, just like anything else, it will last you a long time. So that
mhm.
means not just chucking it in your bag or throwing it or laying on it or whatever it may be, making sure that you're oiling it and conditioning it and just really like treating it like a baby because yes, it's expensive, but it should last you many, many years if
Mhm,
you treat it right. So it's kind of like bats too. I'm very much like, it's all about preference and how it feels for you. There are some gloves, especially for females, we got smaller hands, smaller
mhm,
wrist. Some gloves feel great for players. Others are like, man, this is really loose.
mhm,
Or there's certain gloves that probably like the best quality, but because of that, it's so hard to break in. And I don't want to spend a year breaking a glove in. I just
uh-huh,
don't. Whereas some people are like, I'll take the time, I'll go get it professionally broken in. Like me personally, I don't want to do that.
yeah. That is a hard thing as well with break-ins that I've noticed is like everybody's opinion of what is broken in is so different too. I like the glove when it's stiff, like that's how I
Same.
prefer to have it. But other people want it pillow soft and they'll message us about an A2000 and they're like, this glove is not broken in. I've been working on it for like a year. And you're like, well, I think you want pillow soft. And you can't really
Well,
say pillow soft because I think it's
yeah,
kind of like, it's just like, that's going to take 4 years to get it like that. And they don't want to
literally.
hear
And
that. So,
yeah, and that's a glove where it's like, and a ton of people love it. It's a great glove. It was just like took forever to get it how I want it to
yeah.
be, and it really does. It takes and I like it stiff. Like I like my
Mhm,
gloves really stiff because it's just easier as an infielder because you're really never. Well, I shouldn't say never. You're not squeezing the ball much unless it's a
mhm,
throwdown or relays, but ground balls, that glove stays open. It's just
mhm.
deflection. So I'm with you. I like it stiff.
Yeah. Um, and then as well, when a parent is shopping, like what's not important that you've found maybe people get caught up on sometimes?
Um, I think and this is where I don't know if I'm the most educated on it, is
Mhm.
the web. What's that?
Oh, yeah, like web, what the style of the web.
Yeah, like people ask me, I always go H. Couldn't tell you why. I
Uh-huh.
just have always, but I'm like the only one I would say that should maybe worry about is a pitcher where it should be closed so you
Yeah.
can't see the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I'm like I wouldn't worry too much about it. And obviously, you might know a lot more, but I'm like I don't think it's a big deal. And then um, I would say colors and stuff. Like obviously, kids like cool things. But I'm like,
Yeah.
don't if it's a good quality glove, maybe it's not the prettiest. Like, still get it if you get it for a good deal or
Yeah.
something.
Mm-hmm. No, it's webs. I think people get a little caught up on there are like there's advantages, but it's like pretty minuscule that like if you started using the glove and you had an H web or an I web, if you started using it, you'd get used to the way it plays and it probably would not eventually be that big of a deal. One, yeah, like you
Yeah,
said, for pitchers, make sure it's closed. And like for an infield, that's probably not what I'd recommend, a closed web, but like I guess if it works for you, I'm not going to tell you not. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
what works for you is what works for you. So
And it is. Everyone will have a different preference. And I've heard like, the open webs, like H web, you
uh-huh.
want as an infielder or like an I web, it's where so the dirt can fall out. But I'm like, how much dirt is getting in your glove? I don't know.
That's funny that you said that. The other one I've heard that yeah, I don't mean to laugh because like you said, these aren't obvious questions.
Yeah.
Like blocking the sun. People have like, well, do you want a certain web because it blocks the sun? It's like, no, but yeah,
Yeah.
I can see how someone might think that is something that they need to worry about
Yeah.
at the beginning.
It's just
So
really, really small. Like you said, you're not going to notice it. It's not going to change your game.
yeah. Nice. So I wanted to make sure we got to this though, and we kind of mentioned this earlier, but so you are as far as gloves go, you're an endorser of the Valle training gloves, and
Yes.
they are great trainer gloves for both fast pitch and baseball. And they have everybody's going to recognize this one, but this is like the classic pancake. It's not going to squeeze at all. For those that are listening and not watching, I got a pancake glove on. You can't really squeeze these at all. But then they also have some pretty kind of what I would say groundbreaking ones. Their KK model that they have right here, which I've heard described as a taco shell, which I think is a pretty awesome way to describe the glove. But I'm interested to know, what do you love about Valle gloves and being an endorser and on their team?
Yeah. One, and this has nothing to do with gloves, just really, really good people.
Mm-hmm.
I've loved to team up with companies that feel like family. And obviously the product has to be really good.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I'm endorsing a good product, but they're just really good people, great customer service, which you're spending a lot of money on equipment. You've got to have good customer service. So love them as people, but with the gloves, it's just really good quality,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just very, very beneficial. So for the pancake glove, the one, even in the KK. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the pancake, so that one's technically called the Eagle Switch.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder. You can't bend it. So it really enforces two hands, quick transfers.
Uh-huh.
And I actually use that one a ton in my clinics,
Mm-hmm.
because especially for the younger kids, they want to field, squeeze, and bring it up. Well,
Uh-huh.
you can do that. You just don't have the time, and you don't have the time in baseball, but softball, you really don't have the time to mess around with that ball in your glove.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to use that, and you have to bend. You can't get away with looking like a grandma trying to bend. There's no
Yep.
web in those gloves.
Uh-huh.
And then the KK, I like, it's softer, but it feels more game-like because it squeezes. You can like squeeze it. So that one, I think you can definitely use softballs, but it works better with baseballs because it's into our hands, or the female's hands are a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But it works good with baseballs just to get a good feel because it feels like a game glove.
And these ones, so like with your regular pancake, you can gear up and like a coach could be hitting it as hard as they want. With this one, this is like slower, like high intent type training.
So those I don't ever hit balls to them with the KK because it's so soft. It's more of a roll. But with the pancake, I'm not going to hit them full speed, but I'll definitely use a bat with those gloves.
Yeah. I love this glove right here, this KK, that is it's like a squeezable pancake. I'd never seen this before. So I just thought it was super novel. It's like, oh, that makes complete sense when I heard the description of it. Valle put out a great video. I mentioned earlier, Kai Correa, he's the infield coach for the Guardians now, I think.
Yep.
And he has all of the Valle gloves. I think he has an explainer on like how to use them, why they're helpful, and that sort of stuff. So those of you that are interested, definitely check out Valle overall. I've been really impressed with Valle as well. I listened to your podcast episode with Dave Valle. It's the Train Like a Pro podcast. They've had great, really awesome guests. Yourself, CJ Beatty has been on there. I think Johnny Gomes too, as well.
Yeah.
So some pretty high profile people in the baseball and softball landscape too. So
yeah, no, they were their podcast. I know it's kind of newer, but they've got a great setup, great quality. I will say too, though, so the pancake or the Eagle Switch is definitely, so my top two favorite are that one, the Eagle Switch, and then there's a K47, which is a 7.5-inch trainer.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's so different because it's so small. And I know with softball, because the ball is 12 inches, a lot of people are like, no shot that works, but it's because, I mean, there's literally no web.
Yeah.
It is so much of pocket awareness, which is why I love it. Cause you really have zero room for error. So I use that one almost every lesson I do.
Excuse me. That's a great, so if you guys haven't seen those gloves, you can look them up on Valle's website or JustGloves. It's literally like a baby's first glove is the way it looks. And they call that, you were talking about it, they like the kill spot. Is that what they call it? It's like emphasizing catching it in that section of the glove where there won't be any more spin. And it literally, if you train yourself, it won't spin out of that grasp.
Yeah.
Right there.
And because you really, especially with the K47, they have all different sizes, but like it's literally just pocket and there's no web. I mean, the web's like that long. So if you don't catch it in that sweet spot to where, that kill spot, it's not going to stay in your glove, which is, it's hard. Like I always tell people who buy them, because they are pretty pricey, but I'm like, don't give up on it. It's going to take you a long time. You're going to miss a lot of balls, but when you get it, you're going to see a very big improvement on your transfers. Like it's going to make a really big deal.
So the big thing for fast pitch ladies out there, like, even though it doesn't look like it is, it might not fit, but it does work for the fast pitch softball.
Yes, so, it sure does.
That's awesome. Nice. Well, thanks for sharing on those. Those are, we started carrying Valle gloves like 2 years ago, and it's been a big success for us so far. So great, just a
good company,
great product to have overall. So thank you, Megan, for joining us today. So before we end every episode, we do 3 strikes. So you get 3 more like personal questions to answer just for fun. The thing is you get 20 seconds like the pitch clock in MLB, but take as long as you want. Strike number 1. What is the hardest? So you are with your crew right now, you are somewhat of what I would call an influencer. So what is the hardest thing that comes with being what some might call an influencer?
The negative, constant negativity, to where I'm very much like, I only surround myself with positive and like energetic, good vibes. And it's hard to get away from it when you put yourself on the internet. And I'm not your typical, I shouldn't even say typical influencer, to where I'm just showing, I talk. So that to me, I feel brings more opinions and negativity. And I've gotten way better when I started in 2020, 2020, almost 5 years later. And now for the most part, I just like kind of, okay, whatever, keep scrolling. I mean, there's certain days where I'm like, I'm going to say something back. But that would probably be because you start to question yourself. And that's like any human. I'm confident in what I put out there. But then when you I did a base running video, and when I say it was the most basic, here's how you touch the bag when you round the bag. You would have thought I was killing dogs the way people were commenting. You're wrong. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, oh my. And then I asked my husband, because he's in obviously baseball.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I describing that? He's like, no, that's literally exactly how you're supposed to round the bag. I'm like, okay, I'm mad at myself for even questioning it.
That's funny. Our social media coordinator, Denver, is helping us produce today. And the whole time he was just nodding the whole time. And the other thing that Denver's actually helped me realize is like, they're helping you when they comment, and like, they don't realize that.
100%. So. And I try and tell myself they're making me more money. They're making me more money. But I mean, God, and it could be like the sky or the grass is green. They're like wrong shade of green.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
That's funny. Nice. I appreciate your candor when answering that one.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
no,
What's your
you're
crystal
good. It's
ball?
awesome. So for the second strike, regarding excitement. So like when I watch the College World Series, the Fast Pitch College World Series, you're like, man, that's awesome. Like this is great. These games are over in an hour and a half. Like tons of moving parts. And maybe I just answered the question for you. But what's the biggest advantage that Fast Pitch has over baseball right now?
Just the speed of the game.
Mhm.
It's fast. It's small field, so it's like you don't have a lot of time to field, shuffle, shuffle, throw. It's just like everything is boom, boom. You got slappers,
Mhm.
which I was, where it's like you don't have to hit bombs to be good. You literally put the ball on the ground and you can run it out.
Uh-huh.
I mean, 100%. The speed of the game,
Yeah.
hands down.
That's fun. You're talking about slappers. My niece is left-handed. She's in first grade. But my older brother was like, dude, maybe she could be a slapper someday. I was like, because she's a little
Yeah,
shorter. And so it was kind of
play to
funny
your
hearing.
strengths. I'm all, and if she can run to home to first in under 3 seconds,
Uh-huh.
especially if she's a lefty.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, triple
Yeah.
threat.
That's funny. Okay. And so for the third strike, so growing up, so I'll explain this first. So my older brother always beat me in everything, whether it was like one-on-one basketball, wrestling, matches. And it killed me because I always thought that I could smoke him in these things, but I never did. And so your other brother, Matt, that you mentioned, who is also in coaching, he's a little bit younger than you. But did you have older sister powers over him when it came to competing as kids?
I hope he's not listening because he probably needs to be in therapy because of me. I was very tomboy. Like I was not a girly girl. So I'm
Uh-huh.
like, I'm gonna be outside with the boys. We're gonna play every sport. My brother and I played anything you can think of. And it was like ping pong, home run,
Uh-huh.
kickball. We would annihilate each other. And I'm 3.5 years older than him. So I was always bigger at the
Uh-huh.
time when we were younger.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like, God, I was a little too aggressive. But yeah, I kicked his butt. And then and it's funny, he says now, he's like, well, you didn't want to play when we got to high school. And he's like, I would have kicked your butt. I'm like, yeah, I was like 18. I'm not gonna. But I did. I also joke. I'm like, but I made you the way you are now.
There you
You're
go.
tough. You don't take crap from anyone.
There you go. I
Yeah.
I'll let my brother know that if he brings that up for me anytime soon. So
But
um
I get humbled now because I always beat him. I
uh-huh.
say always, most of the time. My husband and I were very competitive, even like pickleball.
Mhm.
He beats, I don't even want to say this because he's going to be like, oh my gosh, you said it. He beats me a lot in sports. And it's still like, there's times where I won't speak to him for the rest of the day because I'm like, he just makes me so mad because he rubs it in my face.
You're in a tough spot too in Florida. Like you can't get away from pickleball. I feel like that's
I
there's
know.
people are always playing down there. So
And
we're
it is big.
yeah, where are you at in Florida again?
West Palm Beach.
Okay. Yeah, I imagine that is probably big, pretty big right
And
there.
I just
So
have the problem of like, I can't just go on a Sunday and well, let's go have a fun game of pickleball.
yeah.
I'm like, no, I will murder you.
That's funny. Nice. As I'm sure most people, or actually people listening might not know, but so in addition to Just Gloves and Just Bats, we also run the website Just Paddles as well. So pickleball
Oh,
paddles
there
is
you go.
very, there's a lot of pickleball going on in our build or pickleball chatter and stuff like that. And pickleball, we have a court here. So,
Send me your best paddles, and maybe that's my excuse. It's like I didn't have a good paddle
there
to
you go.
use.
That's
Now
right.
I get 'em.
Exactly. That was what you were missing. If you had a better paddle, if you have a better paddle, you'll be able to beat your husband. I'll see if we can.
Exactly, it has nothing to do with my skills. It's the equipment.
There you go. Nice. Well, thank you, Megan, very much for joining us today. This has been a great chat. I'm glad that we were able to get more fast pitch content out here, and I hope that we can get some ladies listening to the podcast as well. That'd be super fun. So.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for thinking of me and bringing me on.
Absolutely. For those of you guys watching and listening, go ahead. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. If you guys are listening on Spotify or also on Apple, go ahead and give us that 5-star rating. We'd appreciate it a bunch. And just share the podcast. If you know anybody in the glove or just baseball and softball communities that you think would enjoy, let them know about the podcast. We'd appreciate it greatly. Until next time, have a great day.